So Cisco, 6 years. You first job out of school, you culminated, you reached your goal, and then you quit your job and moved to Alaska.
Yeah, I did. I did,
Why?
Daniel. You know, that's
You
that's a tough one. I think
you
I
say you live
guess
your life
it's
in
just
extremes. That's quite the extreme right there.
yeah. I think the account manager role, I really did love it. I feel like it was by far the most challenging job I'd ever had, like my whole time at Cisco. I mean, you're just handling so many different moving parts. You're, not only trying to manage and build strategic relationships with your customers and with the C level in your accounts, but then you're also, internally managing, you have product specialists and sales specialists for every single aspect of Cisco's portfolio. And if you know anything about their portfolio, I mean, they have a huge portfolio. Like anything in the IT world, like Cisco sells it.
Wow.
Um, so you're managing, you know, tons of different sellers internally, and it's all about, okay, like how can I kind of quarterback this deal where I'm going to leverage all of my resources and we're going to work together as a team and try to achieve this common goal. And that was awesome. And really being cognizant of like customer satisfaction, that's a big part of the job. And account manager money is like pretty great. Account managers can usually make like double what a sales engineer makes. So
Wow.
that to me was like a huge selling point. It's kind of earlier in my career was just really focused on money.
I don't blame you.
But
I like money too.
yeah, but it's like then once you kind of realize like been, or at least for me, I realized like, okay, I'm going through the motions. Like all I do is just like work to like get this goal. And I achieved it. And man, like I just was not happy. Like everyone kind of thinks like, okay, I'm going to set this goal. Maybe it takes me a couple years or several years to achieve it. And like when I get it, like, man, I'm going to be happy. It's going to solve all my problems. And I kind of realized like, man, my problems aren't solved. I'm like, I'm waking up every day. I'm like stressed as shit.
I
I've,
can
tons of
imagine.
gray hairs already. Like I'm just like, just waking up and just like sighing, just being like, oh, if I just make it through this week, like we're gonna be good. Like, it was a grind. Like I can't complain. Like you're compensated more than fairly for the amount of work and effort you put into a job like that. But
Yeah.
I also started kind of realizing like, okay, like all I thought I cared about was just like making a ton of money. And then you start to think about life philosophically. And I started getting into like Stoic philosophy. Then I started kind of realizing it's like I remember this one quote from, I think it was from Seneca. And it was, poverty isn't having too little, it's wanting more.
Mm.
And I remember reading that and I was like, oh, like man, like I feel like on paper, like sure, I'm very financially secure, but man, like this having more money and like being financially secure, like this isn't bringing me joy. Like what am I doing here? There has to be more to life. I feel like I was just so drained. Like I'd wake up every day just like emotionally and just mentally drained. Um,
Yeah, that's exhausting.
and yeah, it was just exhausting. And then, I already was like very tired. And then I kind of faced a situation at Cisco where had a really big deal on the line. And I would say there's kind of a situation where I really needed my company to have my back about something, and I didn't feel like they had my back. And so then I kind of got to the point where I'm like, okay, like man, just from like a moral standpoint and a value standpoint, like I thought our values were aligned, but it doesn't seem like they are anymore. And at that point, it's kind of like, okay, well, like, what am I doing? Like, have I lost sight of who I am? It's kind of like I can't continue working a job just to make a ton of money if I feel like my values might be, uh, or I might have to kind of go against those or compromise, my values in any way. So that's going to ultimately why I ended up deciding to leave, aside from being super burned out, but it was just like me not feeling supported and me feeling like I may have to do something I don't want to do to close a deal. And that just, yeah, it was not something I was willing to do. And like an old kind of mentor told me, there's no softer pillow than a clean conscience. And that like just really just stuck with me forever. Yeah. So I ended up kind of being like, yeah, you're right. Like, I'm going to quit. Like, I just need a break. Like, this just, the money wasn't worth it anymore. I was burned out. And then realizing like there's more to life than just working and making money. It's like, hey, you got to enjoy life too. Like, life shouldn't be so serious all the time. Just because you're awake doesn't mean you're alive, Daniel.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So you thankfully though you've been working so hard that you had a good nest egg and you said, "Screw it. I'm going to Alaska." And you,
Thank you so much for watching this segment of the Engineering Success Podcast. If you liked it, make sure to check out the other videos down below that are recommended to you. And if you really like the podcast, make sure to subscribe right down there in the middle. We really appreciate it. It's free to you and helps us a lot out. And last but not least, the best way to help the show grow is to comment down below. So leave your comment if you have any thoughts about this segment. Thanks.
Payments, still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.